Tonight, Beyonce's big weekend. Renaissance soaring to #1 at the box office. Featuring hits like Break My Soul, Queer Ballroom in the spotlight. And this is not your grandmother's ballroom. Our Ashan Singh goes behind the scenes with the tour's breakout star, Honey Balenciaga.
She's always had her eye on ballroom. Having the biggest artist in the world make such a big statement, very special to not only me, but to ballroom, and it meant the world to us.
We take a look at the underground roots of the genre.
The AIDS diaspora, crack, dope, coke, eating us up alive. But you couldn't see it how beautifully we presented ourselves.
The poignant struggles of those who came before. Plus, ballroom soaring to unimaginable heights, but the community still under threat.
O'Shea was like a ball of joy. O'Shea, as long as he put the beat on, you'll start seeing this 6-foot black man start voguing down and having fun.
The life cut short by what prosecutors call a hate crime. Now, resilience in the face of tragedy.
You can do whatever you think is gonna damage this community, but we're always gonna come back stronger.
This special edition of Nightline, Beyond Ballroom. We'll be right back. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with the renaissance of queer ballroom. Voguing and other dazzling dance moves are featured in Beyonce's concert documentary, the #1 movie in America. And Ashan, you went behind the scenes with the tour's breakout star.
That's right, Juju. It's no secret that Honey Balenciaga is one of the biggest stars in the game right now, and she's a perfect window into this culture with roots in the queer community that date back at least 5 decades. The icons of ballroom enduring and overcoming so much, but this younger generation still facing violence and sometimes deadly threats.
So true. Let's take a look.
You know, this is not like something I would wear to like any other type of event. Can we maybe take off a little bit in the front? Because when I'm kicking it, it kind of goes under my leg.
For Brooklyn native Honey Balenciaga, wearing a couture gown at a major movie premiere was always a part of her life's plan.
I've always told myself I'm gonna be a celebrity, so if I don't think that, then I'm not gonna become that. Like, this is a big moment for me.
That big moment? Getting ready to see herself on the silver screen as a featured dancer on Beyonce's Renaissance World Tour. The movie released in theaters this past weekend.
The goal for this tour was to create a place where everyone is free.
The highest decorated Grammy winner's 7th studio album was released in July 2022 and debuted atop the Billboard 200 chart with hit singles like Break My Soul. And fan favorites like Summer Renaissance.
I wanna house you and make it take my name.
Renaissance embraces the dance music styles of disco and house. That sound, nurtured by an underground queer community of the 70s, 80s, and 90s in New York City. A still thriving scene where Queen Bee's team scouted the tour's dancers.
I love them, I owe them everything.
And the tour's breakout star, 22-year-old Honey. She's proven herself a formidable dancer, conquering the main currency in competitive ballroom, voguing.
When you first started voguing, I mean, what about it did you love that set it apart for you from other styles of dance?
It allowed me to feel feminine and bold and audacious, and it allowed me to start feeling comfortable in my skin. So when I'm able to express myself, I don't think any other style really moves me the way Vogue does.
Strike a pose. Voguing, ushered into the mainstream by Madonna in 1990, showcased an already developed dynamic underground scene, created by Black and Latino LGBTQ+ folks, and primarily trans women.
I always wanted to be a woman, but I never wanted to be a poor black woman.
Long before voguing was a household term, Junior LaBeija made their name in this building on 129th Street in 1980s Harlem, once known as Elks Lodge, and the birthplace of what would become known as Ballroom.
In Ballroom, it was a gay pageant. You fit a category, whether it be face, realness, sex siren, high fashion, walking down Fifth, thug realness.
O-P-U-L-E-N-C-E, opulence. Everything is yours.
The ballroom scene of the 1980s, famously documented in the movie Paris is Burning, and Junior, the blueprint for a ballroom MC.
An evening bag is a must. You have to carry something.
Heavily inspired by Junior himself, Billy Porter's character as the MC in FX's drama series, Pose.
Just place that jacket in the Christmas ornament box and we'll get back to you.
Pose is a story about a chosen family of LGBT and queer kids who gather up together to go to these competitions that make them feel good, that gives them a voice in the world, that lets them feel like somebody.
Come on, don't keep me in suspense. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Blanca, the test confirmed that you have HIV.
The main character, MJ Rodriguez, she found out she was diagnosed with HIV, and in that time in the 80s, that diagnosis came with a death sentence. When I first saw the face of AIDS is when I came out to the ballroom community. You know, I would see people here today, gone tomorrow.
AIDS, a disease for which there is no known cure.
70% of the country's AIDS victims are homosexual.
I actually see myself fading away.
Unfortunately, for people like us, we have mourned and grieved and lost so much, we have a thick skin. I watch my dearest of friends laid in my bed and wanted the world to perceive them as crackheads rather than mention the word AIDS.
As the queer community was ravaged by the health crisis, Harlem was hit with a second punch, a drug crisis.
The AIDS diaspora, crack, dope, coke, is eating us up alive. But you couldn't see it how beautifully we presented ourselves. I would say, well, darling, let's be like Scarlett O'Hara. If I have to lie, cheat, steal, or kill, I'll never be hungry again. I'll cry tomorrow.
With their backs against the wall and few places to turn, especially after many had been disowned by their birth families, the community formed their own, creating houses and, in turn, chosen family.
I need a place to stay. I need a mother in my life. I need a father in my life. And so the house is there to give you support. The house is there to mobilize together and go into these balls.
And am I looking away from the camera or to the camera for the shots?
Today, high-profile performers like Honey, whose home is the House of Balenciaga, are voguing at highs that were out of reach for Ballroom's forebearers.
Oh, that's hot.
Growing up in Brooklyn's East New York neighborhood and drawn to being the center of attention, Honey learned how to dance at a young age.
Which came first, dancing or ballroom?
I was a theater kid. I love singing, I love acting, I love dancing. I learned ballet, tap, jazz. I was never really surrounded around queer folk or anyone in the LGBT community. I thought it was weird. I was like, why do I like boys? Is this real? Am I supposed to like boys? And Ballroom definitely gave me that strength to find a person I want to become and be comfortable in my gender and body identity.
Through an after-school program, Honey found an outlet to learn and perfect her dance of choice, voguing with other top voguers in New York. While considered the mecca for the world of ballroom, New York is still, well, New York, and Honey wasn't immune to the city's grit.
New York's a tough city to grow up in for anybody.
You gotta be a tough cookie.
Yeah, what was it like growing up for you?
I remember getting called the F word a lot in Brooklyn. There was no one else that was really gay. So it was hard to go to school and feel like I was the only girl in the world.
You kind of got numb to the bullying.
People were very bold and weren't open to queerness. But one thing about me, Ballroom has definitely taught me how to walk with my head held up high. You have to show and walk with this and exude this confidence.
Honey parlayed that confidence from the competitive New York City ballroom scene, all the way to sharing the stage with Beyonce.
Freaking Beyonce.
She's always had her eye on Ballroom. Having the biggest artist in the world make such a big statement, very special to not only me, but to Ballroom.
It's been a meteoric rise for both Honey and Ballroom, from the fringes of the Big Apple to pop culture's center stage. But even at the highest of heights, Renaissance selling out MetLife Stadium. Just miles away, a young man proudly voguing could bring a death sentence. Stay with us.
O'Shea was like a ball of joy. O'Shea, as long as he put the beat on, you'll start seeing this 6-foot black man start voguing down and having fun and just feeling completely comfortable. And that's one thing O'Shea was completely comfortable who he was, and he didn't care who was around.
It was the big stage and bright lights that brought O'Shea Sibley and Otis Pena from Philadelphia
We're heading out for good times
to New York City with dreams of dancing.
Most of our friends from our dance crew was already coming to New York. So we knew that we wanted to go on Broadway. We knew that we wanted to dance.
To Otis, O'Shea was more than a best friend. He became family.
He was the moon to my son, and I was the sun to his moon. He's the salt. You can't have salt without pepper. You can't have peanut butter with no jelly. And it just always just kept working out. O'Shea, don't bring me to no laundromat.
The ballroom scene in New York didn't just help the pair with the basics they needed to survive. It also offered a home.
It gave you community.
Yeah, there's a community, there's a family here. You will be supported, you will be loved, you will be admired, you will be clapped for. They give us food, showers, clothes, whatever we need, those were the places.
While ballroom was his passion, O'Shea was a student of the craft, studying at the prestigious Alvin Ailey Dance Company and performing at New York City's Lincoln Center.
He had that thirst for that knowledge to keep dancing and keep learning the foundation. So it was just like the constant knowledge and thirst for knowledge.
Every day.
Every day.
On July 29th, O'Shea, Otis, and some friends rented a car and took a trip to the beach in New Jersey.
We were celebrating my birthday. It was a very good day.
They had to gas up the rental before returning it in Brooklyn.
So we pulled into this gas station to fill up the tank, and I got out the car, O'Shea got out the car, and we're just joking around, dancing.
Beyonce was blasting from the car, the Queen coincidentally playing that night at MetLife Stadium, 20 miles away in New Jersey.
Just being goofy, dancing around. There was this gentleman that came out from the gas station and all of a sudden started yelling things towards us. I'm like, what's going on?
Homophobic slurs began to fly as a group of men confronted Otis, O'Shea, and their friends.
What were they saying?
They was like, get out of here. So we walk up to them and we're talking with them. We're like, hey, we have every right to be here. And we start walking away, and I can see from the corner of my eye that O'Shea turned around. And eventually, O'Shea gets out of my vision. And when I finally walk up to the edge of the car, and I'm looking at O'Shea, like, bro, and I'm like, what's wrong? And he looks down, and then that's when we see that the blood is coming down from his side. And I run up, and I, grab his waist, grab his side, and trying to calm him down, because now he's freaking out.
O'Shea was stabbed multiple times in the chest.
He's in pain?
Yeah, he's in pain. And eventually he collapsed to the floor. I started putting pressure on his wound, but I could see O'Shea was in and out and he was getting weak. And so when he finally went to the ground, we called the ambulance, we called the police, they're on their way. And unfortunately he nodded off. He nodded off right there on site.
In front of you?
Right in front of me in my arms.
He was 28 years old. The suspect, just 17 years old, evaded police for days. As pressure mounted across social and traditional media, the teen turned himself in, charged with second-degree murder, entering a plea of not guilty nearly 2 weeks later. A defense attorney for the accused, Mark Pollard, speaking in August about his client, said, "I strongly suspect that we will be going self-defense and that he had a reasonable ground to reasonably believe that he had to defend himself in this situation." The latest federal crime statistics showed a 32% jump in hate crimes based on gender identity, in addition to a 13% rise in those based on sexual orientation. In the aftermath, Vigils sprouted up around the city, one of them at the scene of the crime.
I had to show up because that's my job. As someone that is in the forefront, I know I had to be there for O'Shea.
Honey grew up a few neighborhoods over from where O'Shea died.
I was very heartbroken to hear that happened, especially in so close to home. Because I walk out feeling so bold and feminine, and me and my girlfriends would walk the streets in Vogue. So to think that that is something that will get you killed is very scary.
The outpouring of support even got Beyoncé's attention, who grieved O'Shea's loss on her website. The contrast of O'Shea's murder the same night of Beyoncé's show is stark. But it's a scene familiar to the community. In the face of violence and hate, the response is to be even more fabulous.
Honey is somebody that is gonna make sure when she come out, she makes her moment. No shade, she's a moment maker. She's a room shaker.
She made her name. She put in the work, no shade, over years and years and years. She was one of the first people when I joined the ballroom community. She was one of the first people I looked at, and she carries.
Despite her stratospheric rise, Honey remains ingrained in New York City's ball culture. On this night, heading to Queens for the grand ball of one of the community's top houses, the House of Juicy Couture.
Expect a lot because no one plays about the juicy. No one plays about us. We're the fabbest house in the scene and in Ballroom.
The entire House of Juicy Couture, adorned in white and gold, flooded the catwalk.
That is a theme for the House of Juicy. We're all to wear gold, white, look like royalty.
The belle of the ball, none other than Honey herself, showing out with her signature moves, dip and the duck walk, ushering in a rebirth or a renaissance in ball culture.
There's a renaissance happening. It's always gonna happen, and we're always going to make a statement, and we're always gonna let people know that we're here and it's not changing. You can do whatever you think is gonna damage this community, but we're always gonna come back stronger.
For decades, voguing created a safe space for the LGBTQ+ community, nestled in the underground of New York. Now, ballroom is undeniable. It's an art form, one that requires equal parts grace, athleticism, and glamour. And it's being celebrated worldwide in arenas and stadiums by all walks of life. But even at the top, safety isn't guaranteed.
Voguing, ballroom culture can literally be on top of the world, right? But at the same time, you can be stabbed to death right here for just voguing, doing what you do.
We have a lot of work still to be done to be comfortable and open, and unfortunately, we were just living open and being ourselves, and our safety was at risk.
Stay with us.
Being on stage with the biggest artist in the world, I have to imagine that was nothing short of a dream come true.
I want to cry right now. It was definitely a dream come true. And I remember just looking at her after I go around her and I do a little dip in front of her. Came up, I'm like, wow, like I'm really here. I'm really dipping in front of the queen. It's the biggest opportunity I could ever have and ever get.
It never gets old,
It will never get old. I feel complete. I feel like now that I've done this tour with the biggest artists in the world, I feel like I can do anything.